Hey everybody, this is Ramon Ray, founder of Smart Hustle Media at smarthustle.com. Thanks for joining me for another exciting podcast interview. We either interview entrepreneurs about their businesses and or thought leaders to give you insight and information to help you grow your business. My friend, fellow speaker, Robert Kennedy III. Robert Kennedy, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you and all you do.
Appreciate being here, man. Thanks so much for the invite.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I know people are going to wonder, how can we find out about Robert and all those great things? I'm just going to tell you right now, Robert Kennedy 3, the number 3, yes, .com, robertkennedy3.com. So Robert, two things I wanted to touch on. And before we do that, feel free. I'd love to know a bit about your background, but two things to prep the audience, two things. One, leadership. I don't know if you know this, but as a very small business owner, I've been only recently on a journey of being a better leader. I've started 4 small companies, sold 2. Yeah. Only recently am I into systems and processes because probably like many small businesses, I thought that's for Boeing, for Starbucks, for probably many of your clients, the bigger boys and gals.
Yeah.
But I'm recently getting better at this, really, so I can move a little out and do less things, do what I love, and have somebody else. So leadership's important. And I know the other thing that's very important to you, Robert, you help people unpack and present better how they show up. So we'll dive into things like that over the next several minutes, Robert. But first, feel free, take a few minutes, tell us a bit who you are, your journey, what brought you here.
Wow. What brought me here was speaking to Ramon, and he said, dude, we should do a show. But so my journey, man, you just said some of it. I stand smack dab at the intersection of leadership and communication. So I do a lot of work with leaders on their presentation style, their presentation skill, their presentation assets, the things that they bring along with them in order to impact, inspire, and influence their audiences or their employees or their teams. So I do a lot of that with corporations, with individuals or smaller business owners. What I focus on a lot is around the storytelling aspect of it. What's your story? What's that thing that you're passionate about? What's that thing that drives you so much that you decided that you were going to create a business around it? And how do you tell that story to people in a way that connects with them so like emotionally that they say, yes, I want to buy. I want to know more about you. I want to understand you. I want to be in your doggone orbit so that I could find out more about what you're up to and what you're doing. So that's my world. That's my space. That's my everyday right now. I come from the background of a varied background, but the majority of it is academia. I was a teacher. I was a classroom teacher for 10 years. And I taught physics and biology in high school. I was a biology faculty for an online university. And then we've got some of the outside stuff. I was a news anchor for an AM radio station.
Robert, I can see that. The teacher, I can see too. But I can see, this is Robert Kennedy. Today, a truck fell over. Happy birthday to Melissa. Today, a woman died. And I can see the ebb and flow of the voice, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did that. I was a real estate agent for about 5 years. I did also, I started 4 businesses like yourself.
Nice.
My first business was an online music promotions portal. I mean, that's a funny story how that started, but we'll save that for another time. And then I had a web development company for a while as well. And then my third business was we developed online learning courses for corporations. And that was really where the start for leadership came, because companies said, hey, can you not just build it for us? Can you teach us how to do it? And after a while, I learned that what I was teaching them how to do was how to communicate their messages more effectively to their employees and how to train them through that. So that morphed into leadership development, and then the love and the passion really was brought out once I sat in the space of communication.
I love it. I love it. It's powerful. So let's dive. And by the way, I was interviewing Zach, who heads Vayner Speakers, just a few minutes before we were taping this. And man, about the story and et cetera, very similar. I'm curious to a question I have, Robert, is there a difference? Is there a fine line? Is it similarities between you and I, many of the speakers we know, and for me at least, a lot of it's performance. I'm not saying that's the right way, but that's my gift. I don't go too deep on many things. It's a lot of it's performance. But is there a difference with your corporate folks? Those who are never going to be on a quote unquote main stage, like maybe you and I do. They're speaking in the boardroom, speaking in the lunchroom, speaking to board of directors. I'm just making up some things. Is there a similarity between that type of speaker, I'm curious, and those who are, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in front of 10,000? Is it different, same?
Well, I mean, their execution execution differences, but the core is still the same. Ultimately, you're still coming from that perspective of storytelling, because the ultimate goal of speaking is to connect with your audience.
Right.
So how do you do that? You can do that through information, or you can do that by sharing information with them, and they'll say, yeah, nod their head. But no one makes a choice. No one makes a move. No transformation ever takes place until there is an emotional connection. People have to know that whatever you're sharing is going to solve a problem that they care about. I mean, you could have this product. I mean, if we go back to the whole concept of MP3 players. I mean, before the iPod came out, gosh, I had this thing called an iRiver MP3 player, a little strip in the middle and my finger up and down. I had a Microsoft Zune. It was like a very ugly brown color.
I got one right behind you in the drawer.
Right? And there were a ton of other MP3 players. But when Apple's iPod came out, it blew them all away, because Steve Jobs and Apple didn't say, hey, we're just bringing to the market another MP3 player. They said, hey, what would it be like if you could always have your music at your fingertips? Do you remember how you felt when you heard that particular song come on the radio? What would it be like if you had that experience whenever you wanted to have it? And oh, by the way, it fits in the palm of your hand and you can control it all with your thumb. Wouldn't that be amazing? That was what they did. And people say, oh my gosh, this is freaking phenomenal. This is a pioneering thing. Nothing ever has existed like this before. It existed. They just hit your why. They just hit the thing that you care about. They hit the emotional, the experiential, the thing that drives us, that we want. And so we've got to figure that out, whether we are on stage in front of 10,000 people or in a room of 4 people.
Wow. And why do you think, Robert, I'm curious, for smaller businesses, I go to a lot of networking events. My friend Adrienne Miller, she has an online networking community, which she's online several times a week, adriansnetwork.com. And curious, why do so many of us, we small business owners, and if it's a different topic, correct me if I'm wrong, but why do we network so bad? Because most of the network I'm seeing, hi, my name is Ramon.
Oh boy.
We make water bottles. If you're looking for a black water bottle, buy it. In fact, Robert, you can buy them for 10 for $1. Do you want to buy it or whatever? They don't have what you said. They don't grab you. Is that something you have to learn? Have we all been trained wrong? Why don't most small businesses tell that story as part of even how they're networking? At the end of the day, though, Robert, we need your money. I want you to buy my water bottle. That's what I want. So what's the problem?
Yeah, well, 2 words: fear and desperation. Right? So we are afraid of rejection. We're afraid of being turned down. And we're afraid that if people see the real us, if people see the emotional us, if people see the vulnerable us, then they're not going to like us. And we all know that business really happens when people know, like, and trust you. Right? And so people go to networking events and it's socialization. They've been to events themselves. They remember the first, second, or third event that they went to, and it was like business card ninja style. Everybody was just whipping stuff at you, right? And so we kind of think, oh, that's the way it's supposed to be. He who has the most business cards wins.
Yeah, I want to reach out. Robert's over there, but I got to go through 5 guys and get my card before I get to him. I don't even know if I need to get to him.
Right.
Can I have a little mercy, Robert? Doesn't that make a little sense that it's a quantity game, that I need to hand my card out and grab as many cards as I can before it's over? If I don't do that, what else do I do?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. You can grab as many cards as you want. When you go back and you have 49,000 on your desk, what do? Are you able to go through all of them? Are you going to call all those people and do business with all those people? No. So, I mean, it's a connection and a quality game. I'm looking in the room to find people that I vibe with, find people that have problems that I can help solve. And how do I know that they have problems that I can help solve? I start by asking questions. I start by finding out, being interesting and just really kind of listening to them instead of saying, hey, I'm Robert. I've got my card. Here it is. I sell this. You should buy it. Bye-bye. I'm going to the next person now.
So yeah. And I guess in a perfect world, we would know all this ahead of time. But since we don't, ask questions. And so what you're saying, you're giving us permission right now. Robert Kennedy's giving us permission to walk away instead of 100 cards, making it up if we were networking in real life, but you get the idea, everybody, to walk away with 10 cards who more often than not, those may be relatively perfect people that can help you or you can help rather than 100 total strangers. Is that what I'm hearing you maybe say?
As a matter of fact, I want to challenge you the next time you go to a networking event in person, when we get back to that, to take only 10 business cards yourself. Right? Because I am giving a card to the people that I absolutely want to connect with. Right? So before the card is not like the introduction. The card is the continuation. The card is like, listen, we had a great time. It seems like we have either a lot in common, or I would love to continue this conversation because I'm sensing some things that are congruent or can jive between us. I can help you, you can help me. That's the reality of it. Let's continue this. Right. So that's where the card comes in. That's not the introduction. I mean, yeah, the card has your name on it, but you can say that too. We live in an age of social media. It's just as easy to say, hey, look me up on LinkedIn. Yes. Right. Than to give and say, hey, take 5 cards and take 3 for your friends or whatever, whatever. Because people have done that to me. Right?
I've fallen into that, Robert. It's funny. I offended one lady. Well, I've offended more than one person. I didn't do it quite as well as you seem to do it, but I'm going to try your method. Yeah. But, I've learned I don't give out, my point is she gave me her card and I said, thank you. And I walked away. And she said, why didn't you give me your card? I said, you didn't ask for it. she was, but obviously it was kind of a one-way relationship there, but she was kind of offended, but I get it. Cause you're normally, here's my card, but it didn't even on my mind. She didn't ask.
Right.
No problem.
Right. I mean, and for those people, I mean, I really say to certain people, hey, let's get connected on social media right now. Yes. You got your phone. I've got my phone. Let's whip it out. Here I am on LinkedIn. I'm Rob. Let's do that. Let's get connected. Inbox me. Right. And that's a more organic way because now you've actually executed a connection instead of just saying you got the card and you hope they'll call you or you hope that you'll remember to call them.
Yes.
I've been in a situation where I've had like 150 business cards sitting on my desk and they sit there for months until one day I'm like, man, all these cards here. And I start going through the cards and I reach out to people and say, hey, remember we met at that event like last year, 2017.
Or you got to put that generic one, like when you don't want to say, me and you are too smart to put Dear All and do BCC. We're like, it was nice meeting you. We do. At least I do. By then I have no clue.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and those, I get it. Those are touch points, but you've also extended the amount of time to create meaningful connection in the relationship. Yes. If I make a meaningful connection that night at an event, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for meaningful connections. Right. So if I make one, then heck yeah, I'm going to follow up on that baby as soon as possible. I'm going to do something that takes that relationship to the next step, to the next level, and not just, hey, I'm just following up with you.
Right. Correct. No, that's powerful. Robert, I was going to talk about leadership a bit, but I think there's another thing that I want to touch on instead, or we'll see where it goes. Storytelling. You mentioned that a few times, and I know that's so important.
Yeah.
Talk to the average small business owner who may not be used to storytelling. And I know it takes longer. I hope people talk to you, go to your website, etc. I know you have a lot on that. Look at your videos, subscribe to you on YouTube. But the point, Robert, is that how do we start? For those who have it difficult and say, Robert, I don't have a story. We educate high school students how to take the SAT. Robert, there's no story in that. Robert, I'm a piano teacher. Robert, we sell stationery pre-COVID in the store. Now we're just trying, Robert. We are doing our best to have e-commerce and SEO and still sell stationery online.
Yeah.
How do I do a story with that stuff, Robert?
So John Maxwell and Robert Cialdini have this quote. I don't know who exactly came up with it first. It's like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And so here's where stories become great. I mean, every once in a while, you'll have this experience of you'll just kind of share a product and somebody will say, oh my gosh, I've been looking for that all my life. Every once in a while, you'll happen upon that. Right. But most people are not like that. You've got to get their attention. You got to compete for eyeballs. You've got to be interesting.
Yeah.
And on their face, on their own, products are not interesting. Everyone is tuned into We FM. What's in it for me? And they want to know, what's this thing gonna do for me? Does this thing meet a need? Does it fit into that my vision, my where I'm looking, where I'm going at this point? How's it gonna make my life better?
Yeah.
And so they judge that, though, not by experiencing it themselves. They judge it by how other people have experienced that thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the one that's talking to them, they judge it by how you have experienced this thing. Have you ever been to a restaurant where the waiter comes up to you and they say, "Hey, oh, here's our special today. It's amazing." What's the question that you ask them? "Oh, have you had it?"
Yes.
Right? Or you just, is that just a script that you're sharing me?
And it's often too much overload. It means nothing. I can't, there's no context. Even
right.
There's no, I get it. So is it fair to say that people, those small businesses, even though I think it takes some training and all that, but those business owners that don't have a story, maybe they just haven't taken the time to reach down enough and think through that. They're so used to just, here's the pen, Robert, it's $2 off. Do you want it or not? Yeah. Instead, maybe either ask some questions, tell the story, whatever it is, and not in a corny way, but to then, oh, Robert's kids are going to college.
Yeah.
Let me now bring that out.
Yeah.
In the context of that.
And that's exactly it. I mean, sometimes it's not even, let me find out about you, because you may not be able to get that every time.
That's right.
It may be just sharing me and why I do what I do. Why am I in business? Why am I in this particular business? I'm in business because, you know what, one day I was in elementary school and I was trying to write with a pen, and I was struggling with the pen because I knew that I made a lot of mistakes and the pen couldn't erase. So I preferred to write with a pencil, but I remembered that every time I wrote with a pencil, it broke. So I decided I was going to invent a business where I would have an unbreakable pencil. Right? I could erase.
Are you selling that now? Can I buy it now?
Exactly. Right? Right? So somebody's like, oh, you know what? I totally resonate with that.
Yes. And even if they don't, I bet they'd like you. Meaning if I don't know, God put it in this. I think humans we connect.
It's a human experience. It's a human experience. I mean, this is why social media is so powerful, right? You don't know people, but you're literally scrolling through and checking out their lives. Right? You're looking at pictures and videos of people who you don't know. Right. And you're going back and you're, okay, what's Ramon doing today? Right. You know, where's okay. And you're a perfect example. I see Ramon, and Ramon has got this this very quirky energy, and Ramon is just like, boom. So every time I see a video of Ramon, I'm kind of like, oh, let me stop and see what Ramon's got to say. Right. and so yeah. So it's literally people, stories. We connect right through that. We connect through emotions. We connect through vulnerability. Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And the more that we do that, the more that we tap into that, the more successful our businesses are going to be, because people don't want our products. They want us, or they want the experience that our products will provide.
Yeah, Robert, on your page or YouTube, and if you don't have it, it's okay, other resources, but can people dive into some stuff that maybe you've done or talked more about it? Because I have a feeling people listening to this, the questions I would ask is, how do I develop this? How do I do this? Will they find stuff on your site maybe about some of this or no?
So if they go to my YouTube channel, I talk about the importance of story. I talk about how the different types of stories that you can tell as a business owner, as a leader. I talk about certain stories that I've gone through, or things that I didn't think were important stories in my life, that at the moment I told them, it made a difference for people. Yeah. So, there's a lot of that. There are documents that I have where I talk about 21 important questions that you can ask, or that you can share at the beginning of every talk or every speech. Because one of the things that we do is, a lot of times we have to speak or present, and we immediately walk up, we say, hey, good morning. My name's Robert. I'm so glad to be here. I'm going to talk to you about underwater basket weaving. Right? And so isn't it more interesting when you start out with a question? Because our brains have this thing inside of it. It's literally a scientific, this is brain science. We're about to go into it for a second. Our brains have this function, and we call it instinctive elaboration. That's the scientific term for this. Okay. And what that essentially means is that anytime there's a question, our brains can't help but answer it. We can't help but answer it. I mean, you may not verbalize it always, but you immediately go to try to answer the question. And then the next action, you decide, okay, I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to say something about it, or I'm going to try to squish it. Right. But your brain wants to doggone answer it. It's trying to punch outside of that box.
Right? My brain's like that all the time. My wife comes to me, I'm so tired, honey. I have to shut off my brain and say, honey, I understand. And just be quiet.
Yeah. It's that. So when you do that at the beginning of a talk, when you do that at the beginning of a presentation, at the beginning of a meeting, you are immediately triggering something in people's brains that causes them to begin creating a picture, creating a memory, creating an experience, creating an image. And if you do that within your first 3 seconds, your first 8 seconds, you've got that much more permission to have space in their lives at that point.
Yeah, it's powerful. And I think what I'm hearing, Robert, as well, I just thought of it as you're saying it, is that one, storytelling and vulnerability. One is because Robert might be interested in exactly what I'm saying. He could have had that. That's one.
Yeah.
If not, correct me if I'm wrong, my thinking is that Shakespeare and things that have been going on since time of man, people just love a story. So I'm at least going to give you the time to listen more. If not, it's okay, because you're not a fit and I shouldn't sell to you anyhow, and we're good, no problem. Yeah. But even just the story, people always, Jesus did it, right? People always will, I don't know anything about molecular biology, but let me hear what happened when he almost burned down his house. Let me hear about it.
Exactly. I mean, we watch movies over and over. The Super Bowl is a perfect example, man. Yep. Right? You've got this game between 22 men that are looking to try to, pound each other's brains out for this little brown pigskin thing. Right. But in the middle of all of that, we've got these commercials. We've got these little stories that people tune in just to watch that.
People like me who asked my son one day, Robert, you have to promise not to laugh at me out loud. I was like,
okay, son, you set me up. I'm already laughing.
Yeah, you're ready. Robert, I kid you not, this went for 5 minutes. I kid you not. I said, Tim, what's the yellow line? No, I said, Tim, there's a yellow line on the screen. Why do they need these guys in red jackets with a red sign if there's a yellow sign on this, if there's a yellow line, meaning they know where the ball is.
Right.
And he said, what are you talking? He said, that yellow line? He said, Dad, only we can see that. They can't see. Robert, that's how much I know about football. Only when he showed me, I'm like, oh, that's digital. That is so cool. He looked at me like, you really don't know sports, do you? I'm like, no. So anyways, it's for people like me. I just go there to watch the little Dalmatians and whatever else is happening.
And then people watch the commercials again on YouTube, and they share them. Right. So I mean, this is business storytelling at its finest, man. They're paying millions of dollars for 30 seconds in front of you to tell you a story that is going to capture your attention, capture your emotion, only for a hope that you will purchase their product or be the company or be the product in your mind when you happen to be in that place or think about it. Because I mean, like me, I'm not a drinker. I don't drink beer, but I think some of the Budweiser commercials are hilarious.
Yeah. and they have so much lock-in. I don't drink either.
Yeah.
But listen, if I was in Mars and there was 100 beers and I saw Budweiser, heck, I guess I'm a drinker. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, Robert, this has been powerful, man. Can you tell us one more time your website? This is, I think, man, I've learned so much. And I think that what I'm hearing is storytelling can be fun. It can be good. And we don't have to just sell. Because now in this time of Zoom and Teams calls, Robert, I'm on probably doing more networking than I did pre.
Yeah.
Tons of calls. And I like to network and, 50 calls, 10 people, little squares. Yeah. But many people are doing it wrong. Few people start out by connecting, having me, let me hear what they're saying. Most of the time it's, hi, I'm Jenny. We're a local accounting company. You can find us at 1-800. It's 22 of those. Oh, like, boy.
That's nice. Let me move. Who's next?
Exactly. But RobertKennedy3.com, RobertKennedy3.com, best place to find you. Anything, Robert, I didn't ask you that you wanted to mention today before we conclude this awesome discussion?
Man, I don't know. That's a setup question. I would have asked about, bank accounts and where you can give me $1 million or, whatever.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Actually 10 million.
10 million.
Yeah.
With a story.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
How I got 10 million from Ramon Ray.
You know what? We may make that happen within, you never know.
Let's do it.
But listen, Robert Kennedy, been good talking to you. Again, everybody, Robert Kennedy, go check him out at robertkennedy3.com. My name is Ramon Ray, founder of Smart Hustle Media at smarthustlemedia.com. I try to tell stories too. The only ones I can think of is burnt pancakes and bacon. Be blessed and have an awesome, awesome day.